Like, are we lucky? We are so lucky that we're so lucky. Every week we're lucky with what people bring from their hearts to us in so many ways. I wanted to talk about something from last week before I even got into this week. Last week, I hope at least once I said, honor ourselves as the source of wisdom and compassion. That is one of the spiritual keys. To honor yourself as the source. Okay? That the source is in you, okay? In everybody here. That's important. Last week, I went to go see The Legend in My Heart, which Kimberly Busby's daughter, Caitlin Busby, made this gorgeous movie. And, Kimberly just got done with the beautiful Wild Rose Film Festival. I saw this movie, The Legend in My Heart. It is about a group of international writers who go to China and lead a program with Chinese students. I guess there would be disabled students, most of them. But also, the public was invited. It was held at the American Consulate. I'll tell you, we really need to see that movie. Kimberly and I were plotting and planning to bring it here or bring it to another church where we can see it again. There were so many things about the movie that just touched me, but I want to tell you about one thing in particular that is really what I talk about every week. So it's about that source in everybody, that if we get that, everything changes. If you really and truly get it, it changes your life. If you get that the source is in you and that you are this thing, that you are this beautiful, expressive spirit, everything changes. So here's the movie. There are wonderful teachers and a writer, a poet, a musician, and a dancer. So the dancer is taking these people, and there are dancers. There was a dancing school from China who were there. So you can tell somebody who's been dancing, like how their body looks. And you could tell that some of the people hadn't been dancing their whole lives. But the most graceful, beautiful, touching move I saw in the whole movie was a boy who clearly was a special education boy. He did not have a dancer's body. But there was this beautiful dance that he was a part of, and he made this graceful move that just pierced my soul with the beauty of that move. Because it was lovely and beautiful and graceful, and it's such a reminder to me of that absolute beauty in each of us, in me and in you, that we don't always think is there because of all the other garbage that we've packed around ourselves, the thoughts and the beliefs we have that keep us from seeing the graceful dance move, that even keep us from trying to dance, right? Or trying to sing, or trying to write, or trying to express. That is what we are about here in Unity. That's what we're about. I found a quote that was going around the internet from Carl Jung. This is what it says. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. Now that's the kind of meaty quote that gets me going. I love to, dive into stuff like that. And I just explaining my hit on it is that it's a beautiful example of how much projection we do, and how much, I don't know about you, but every other day I could probably make a case for how something is thwarting me or someone. Often it is my laptop, but whatever, right? We all know that feeling. And the spiritual wisdom is to keep looking inside so that you can heal the thoughts that keep us from dancing, right? That's the spiritual path. To look inside, to look at what's thwarting you and somehow connect it to inside. Now here's my disclaimer. I am not talking about if there's a Sharknado. Okay? If there's a Sharknado or even a tornado, I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying blame yourself or even look at yourself. What's in me that's causing this Sharknado? I mean a real Sharknado, a real tornado. And I'm even saying I'm not even going to take any inner responsibility for who gets elected this year, okay? I'm just going to take one whatever percentage of the population there are in the United States. I'll take that much to look at. I'll look at that much. But I'm not going to own that. So my disclaimer is, don't use this to torture yourself or think that you are powerful enough to cause the tornado, right? Okay. And we're clear on that. One thing that Carl Jung was known for is he, of course, delved into the subconscious, and one of the things he used was archetypes. That you look at archetypes and you find out more about yourself. And for him, one of the most important archetypes was the self as an archetype. And Jung described the self as the ultimate unity of the personality and symbolized by the circle and the cross and a mandala that Jung was fond of painting. Mandala is a drawing that you can use for meditation, and it tends to draw your focus back to the center. Two personifications that best represent the self are Christ and Buddha in one of the ways that Jung describes this archetype. We'll be working with a mandala a little bit later today. And as I was thinking about this phrase, because it had a lot of meat for me, and I noticed the other thing it brought up for me was the whole idea of original sin and original blessing. And Matthew Fox, who is a alive today theologian who has written extensively on original blessing, and his theology, he likes to call it creation spirituality. I just want to remind us about that creation spirituality is a beautiful whole picture that integrates the wisdom of the Eastern spirituality and Western spirituality. It integrates global indigenous cultures, including all the emerging scientific things that we're finding out every day. All the understanding includes all of that, and all of the creativity, all of the art, all of this expression. It's a theology that includes everything, and he makes the case that it also includes the tradition of the historical Jesus, because it includes a wisdom tradition of Israel. And everything, and including the great, I would say the great spiral of everybody on the world, the culture, as our spiral, as everybody in every culture unfolds and grows, that spiral that all the world, it includes everything, and it rests on this one important thing that Fox calls original blessing. Okay? Original blessing. We talk about that in Unity quite a bit. The difference between original blessing and original sin. That the you is a blessing. It never was anything but a blessing, and it always will be a blessing, no matter what happens in between. A couple of points I want to make are that your inner treasure is your recognition of your inherent worthiness, your original blessing. This is a big deal. And I want to tell you a personal story of regret for myself believing less than. Let me tell you, when I reflect on my life, and I think about going back in time and telling myself things like, buy Microsoft, stuff like that. I also want to go back in time and tell myself this. If I really had something to say, I would say this. Do whatever you can to get the idea that you're okay. Do whatever you can. And when I think about things in my life that I actually have some regret for, everybody makes mistakes, right? Everybody does things that later we say, well, that was a stupid thing. Who hasn't done a stupid thing? Every single time, if I analyze something I did that was stupid or caused harm to myself and others, that's what I'm going to call stupid, causing harm to myself or others, when I think about it, I acted from the place where I thought I was less than. I absolutely had it in my head, I acted from the place where I was less than. I didn't believe I was an original blessing. I thought I was less than, and then I would I would do an action or cause some harm or to myself or other people. It doesn't mean we couldn't all get over it and learn from it, but that's where it comes from. Every single time, every single thing that I regret. And if you think back over your life, maybe you could find that to be true, that anytime you did something that you think was a mistake, it might have stemmed from a part of you that didn't believe you were all that didn't really believe you were the Christ, that thought you were an original sin instead of an original blessing. And that can still come up and bite me in the butt. I notice that anytime I say anything the least bit snarky to anybody, it is because there is a part of me that maybe gets triggered into the part of me that thinks I'm not good enough or not worthy, or there's a little bit of edge because I feel like something got touched in me, a place in me got touched that I don't believe I'm good enough. It's painful, and a lot of times instead of noticing, oh, that hurts a little bit, I'm likely to say, oh, well, to you, yeah, I don't really want to go into any examples. Here's the deal. Unworthiness masquerades as all kinds of beliefs about the self, okay? Our unworthiness masquerades as all kinds of belief about the self and about everybody else. Anytime I think the word about me or anybody else, stupid, loud, aggressive, timid, any of those judgy words, okay, about me or about anybody else, even if it's true, okay, right? That's a joke, but it's also, I want you to hear this. Even if it's true, anytime I think that, it's unworthiness in me masquerading as a thought, okay? As a thought about me or somebody else. Because when I truly feel I am a unique and precious being, I contribute to the lives of others when I am present. I am here to be of sacred service to the world. I give and receive unconditional love. I am divine. Whenever I think that, I am not going to go to, well, that was stupid. It's not in any way, shape, or form. So I have 3 windows to self-awareness, okay, that we're going to play around with today. Just making lists makes me so happy. Just something about a list, 3 things, doesn't that make you feel happy? There's 3 steps to self-awareness. The first is impartial self-observation. Impartial self-observation. I've talked about that before. It's like magic. And my best example is this. I don't know if any of you ever saw Dr. Phil. I used to watch him maybe 5 years ago. One of the things he used to do on his show would be when people had stuff going on, he would videotape them like for a week. and then show them the videotape. I mean, I feel like that's probably the only therapy I ever really need. If somebody followed me around and videotaped me, it would cure everything. I would need to keep watching it, and it would be a little bit painful, but then I would get it. I would begin to watch it with an open heart. I would apply. So impartial self-observation. If any time we can step back and notice what we're doing, impartial is very important, without judgment. Just notice. That's a huge way to get to self-awareness, and it's worth it. And I keep threatening that I'm going to open up a therapy business, which is just videotapers, but I seriously think it would work. The after part would be watching the movie with somebody. That would take a long time, getting from all the projection into just letting it in. Okay, that's one way, impartial self-observation. You can do that anytime. It doesn't take long, and each of us have a camera in our head, so all you have to do is think back over the last 10 minutes or the last day or the last week or whatever you want to do, and do a little impartial self-observation. Open your heart, breathe deep, and just look. Here's the second thing. I like to call it open-hearted interaction. There's lots of ways to do open-hearted interaction. One of the ways we do here is we practice nonviolent communication. We meet every Thursday night. We practice, that's a particular model. But it's an interaction because it's the using people part. I have to admit that seems to be a very powerful way with me. People in a group getting together, and in a way we're using each other for some impartial self-observation because people, it's just easier to see stuff in other people than it is in ourselves. And if you create a place of safety, then it can be really healing and really helpful. Another thing that works is that people often do is A Course in Miracles is a great study, and you usually do that with other people. That's another way to what I call interactive, open-hearted interaction. And then the Brene Brown work. If you read any of her books, and I'll tell you what, right now you can do Brene Brown work online. You can just, there's usually some classes, you can do that work online. We do some of the classes here, but you can also just read the book. But the point about this is to do it with a bunch of people. You take anything, do it with a bunch of people, because they will help you see your blind spots in a way you can't find it by yourself. And then the last thing is what I call oneness. And that's our unity path a lot of times, or our ultimate unity path. Oneness, the window to self-awareness. Prayer, meditation, and a third thing I'm going to call soul writing. I've shown you this book before, The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. It's pretty much got something every day of the year, and he writes, he's a poet, he writes this beautiful reflection, and then at the end of every day, there's something you could do. There's something you could do, like May 19th says, so you've read this beautiful thing he wrote, then you go, identify one trait that makes you feel good about who you are, your laugh, your smile, your ability to listen, or the sound of your voice. The next time you exhibit this goodness, notice how who you are affects others. Give thanks. So I highly recommend this or something like this. The other thing is something that I made up in the middle of the night called soul writing. So we're going to take about 5 minutes, and you can come to the table and grab either the circle or the piece of paper. You can sit at the table. You can either grab this or this. This is, you're going to make a mandala, and there's no directions to that because it's art. You're just going to make a mandala called the self. And the other thing is come to the table, or you can come to the table and get a piece of paper. Maybe the ushers can help pass them around. You can also use the pad if you want to write with this. There should be enough seats. And try deep sea riding. And if you really, the third choice is to sit and pray all by yourself. Yeah, there should be, there's some on every table. What do you need more of? There should be piles. There's piles. Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes. Either answer the questions or draw the mandala. So finish the sentence you're on or the shape you're on. And know that you can keep working on this. Bring it home. You can bring, if you need more copies, so you can bring home the circle, you can bring home the writing. And then, does anybody want to share? Want to hold up their picture or share what they wrote? Some people like to, some people don't. Okay. I'm gonna hand around a mic. I see Peg, and I see. Turn it on.
You may not be able to. You may not be able to see it clearly, but this is starting out as a picture to represent my inner light.
There it is.
My inner light going forth to share love and understanding, compassion, acceptance, the whole thing.
Thank you. I said Judy wanted to share.
Mine is that I am the center, I am the light, and around that is more light, and I have 3 crosses in it, which is the Trinity, which is the spirituality in me, and then that spreads out, and this is a broken person, the volunteer work I do.
Do that. Let me hold it up. There. Yeah.
One broken person, and then many other people around, because I have a large whatever, anyway, people, and then the third one is just to spread light wherever.
Thanks, Judy. Anybody else want to share? Thank you. Me too. I have sharks in my ocean.
Okay. Well, I just put down what's on the surface. I put, oh, sunshine, warmth, smiles, and that it's ruffled. And 10 feet down, I've got blaming, shame, the stuff we do in our minds. I've got that about 10 feet down. Then I put the low self-worth halfway down for having thoughts of inadequacy. And then the fourth one, what is at the very bottom of the seafloor? Much is buried in the mud, the yuck, and the slimy surface on the bottom that's still coming up to be released and surrendered. And I spend a lot of practice working on, I don't want to say that I'm always here, but I do practice and viewing my thoughts and surrendering them. So that's...
Is there a treasure chest?
Yes, there is a treasure chest under the mud and the yuck and the yes, which my treasure chest is freedom.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. Anyone else wanted to share something? Here you go, Tar. Oh, well, sometimes we can't hear you.
Okay, I could only, when I was thinking, I'm calm, and I have peace, inner peace, just wonderful. I just feel wondrously blessed. I just have, all I have is peace, wonderful peace, calm. I'm just wonderfully blessed. So this is what I felt, so that's what I wrote.
I love it. We every day the ocean is a different thing. You do have to use that.
On the surface today, the sea appears. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, you. Sorry.
On the surface today, the sea appears calm, sunny, and serene. But down about 10 feet, there's an agitated shark upset with his relationship with the other fish. What's halfway down? Is it dark? Is it murky? What's swimming around? And there's a heavy whale whose weight rests fully on his heart. What's on the very bottom of the sea floor? A beautiful child of God who is afraid to fully and wholly embrace and discover who he is and creatively express this in his daily life.
Thanks, James. So I appreciate you guys sharing and, that really personal stuff. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you for doing something different on moving around and sitting at a table. And I appreciate that you have an assignment. Ha ha ha. Okay. This is your assignment this week. It is your sacred work to notice the divinity in yourself. Okay? And it is your sacred work to notice and appreciate the divinity in the other people who are crossing your path this week. Okay? This is your homework. I want full reports next Sunday. Let's take an offering for unity.